Yeah.
Welcome to the Brilliantly Sexy Show with Devina Kaur. Our intention is to inspire, awaken and create global leaders using the Sexy Brilliant philosophy. Discover sacred wisdom and the benefits of self-leadership with your host, author of Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious and founder of Sexy Brilliant Global Revolution, Devina Kaur.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Brilliantly Sexy Show with Devina Kaur, and I'm so happy that so many of you are here. I see all your likes and comments, and I want to know where you guys are from. And I am in Montreal, Canada, and we are going through quarantine day number, I think 1 million at this point. So, and I know we're all struggling in different ways, but today I have a very, very special guest and my very dear friend Alpa Soni, all the way from UK. Alpa, welcome to Brilliantly Sexy with Devina Kaur.
Hey.
Hey,
I feel I need to be like a little bit more prepared because that intro about you was fabulous. That was definitely sexy and brilliant. I'm feeling a little bit unprepared, everybody.
Sexy and brilliant, what can I say?
Sexy and brilliant.
Yeah, and Alpa, before we get into our show, I just want to, for those of you who are new, who don't know who I am, Sexy Brilliant is a registered nonprofit foundation. And actually, it started because of me overcoming an addiction. So, when we talk about sexy and we talk about being brilliant and we talk about, from the outside, but sexy is how you define it. And Alpa, today I want to talk about what does the word sexy and brilliant mean to you? But before I go there, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience, my audience, and tell us who you are and where you're based.
Oh, gosh, Devina, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to your show. I mean, I think we've known each other now for how many months has it been? This journey feels like forever.
Yeah. Well, at least a year. We met during the quarantine, the first lockdown.
And all these shows that we've done and been together. And look, it's been a ride. It's definitely been a ride. And who am I? Just a normal lady from the UK that woke up very quickly. And I think a lot of your viewers will know my story. Just an average girl based in the UK, trying to figure out what's been going on Mother Earth for the last 12 months. Mm-hmm. And, I wasn't no big social media personality. I still don't consider myself to be anything of a big authority in this so-called truther movement. Just an average girl trying to seek answers to the pandemonium that we're going through right now, and we are connecting with people along the way in this journey. We're learning so many things from people and, seeing what sort of resonates with us and sharing our wisdom, sharing our experiences, sharing our knowledge. But at the end of the day, I always say to myself, I humble myself to everyone. All the time I say, they say in Hindi, mujhko kuch nahi pata, right? Mujhko kuch nahi pata, meaning I don't know nothing.
Look at that. I don't know nothing. And you know what, Alpa, that's great because I describe myself as a full-time student of life, which means I know nothing. And every experience is actually my teacher. So this is so beautiful that we're getting to share time together, space together. And guys, those of you who don't know Alpa Soni, she's actually a banker by profession and investment banker.
Was. Mortgage broker.
And then she lost her job. Can I say you got fired, Alpa?
Well, no, I'm self-employed, but I lost my contracts and I lost my the people that I was working with. I had several different things that I had my sort of fingers in. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting as I started expressing my truth. These so-called relations started to conveniently distance themselves and conveniently say, right, well, there's no longer any work left. So it all sort of made sense to me. as to why, but here we are. And I'm on a new journey, on a new path, figuring things out. And as you know, I've had some tests along the way, some challenges to do with my health, which I've made I've not hidden this. And I'm just finding my way in these last 12 months, figuring it all out, like yourself, Davina.
And that's figuring yourself out. And this is true, by the way. Anybody who starts a business, goes back to university, even gets into a new relationship, none of us know what we're doing most of the time, right? And it's only through the experience of learning, of going on that course. It's the journey that is so beautiful and so exciting, and also a little bit torturous, like we're learning, right, Alpa?
Well, absolutely. Look, none of us was born with a manual. I say this time and time again, when we were born, we have our soul script, our karma that we've come in to this world with. And, there was no sort of crash courses that we took while we were in the womb of our mother, just to say, right, this is how it's going to be, and this is what you got to do. We figure things out every day through experience, through the hard lessons that life teaches. And I try and simplify things at the moment, especially in my shows, where I feel... so just before I get into that, everybody who's watching, my YouTube channel has been banned, and I should be out of the YouTube jail in a few days. I have to check when that is. And I'm on a Facebook ban as well. So I've taken my Facebook off. I've deactivated it just to kind of reconnect and recalibrate with myself, because I've been met with some health challenges. And I'll be honest about what they are. I've just only recently found out, and it's an inflammation in the brain. So
what does that mean, Alpa, an inflammation in the brain?
So my naturopath and even the doctors now are trying to not get me to label anything and think too much about it. But as you know, Devina, I was going to cancel because I haven't been feeling very cognitively astute. And then it just causes me a bit of anxiety to come on these shows. And it's been generally the case throughout this journey, but I fought it because the cause is so important for humanity that I've continued fighting. But at some point, I think I've had to take a step back and say, hey, Alpa, breathe and start looking after yourself. And I think everything is orchestrated by the hands of the divine. I got banned on Facebook because it's like, listen, she's not going to shut up. She's just going to carry on her bombs, and she's going to carry on fighting, all the time. And we need to ban her. So I got banned, and it made me reflect a lot internally about how I have been showing up. And I have no regrets about that. I love all the connections that I've made. But going back to what actually has been going on, it started off with being diagnosed with fibromyalgia about 5 years ago, never fully understanding what that meant. And then just in sort of the recent months, that I have met so many amazing people, so many amazing healers. And I thank this journey for that, to get some kind of direction and navigate, properly what's been going on. I eat healthy. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I used to drink. But right now, for the last 4 years, I've really taken my health into my own hands, but still puzzled as to, what's going on. And it's only very recently that it's evident that there's an inflammation in the brain. And this is in the last 3 weeks. So where I thought I was a bit like Dory from Finding Nemo, and my friend Madonna always tells me, if she goes, stop saying that about yourself, right? She gets cross with me, and she's like, you're manifesting it into your reality, and she's so right. I kind of lose my train of thought, and I start getting worried and all of that stuff. So that's exactly what it is in inflammation of the brain. You start feeling confused, intense brain fog, your cognitive function is impaired. But there's a lot that's actually exacerbating this in the biosphere right now as it is. As we know, with what's going on with the numero 5 technology, the impact that that's having on us, what's going on with the stress levels. There's so many variants, so many things that are put in this pot of really testing people's health. So yeah, I didn't want to not come here because, Devina, I want to say that you're just an amazing person, and I'm so glad to connect with you. From day one, a sister to a sister. I love speaking to you off screen as well, in Hindi, especially because, without kind of stereotyping anything or compartmentalizing anything, it has been a challenge in our communities as well with what's going on in the planet. There's so many people on different pages, and that's fine, So here we are, and I'm very happy to be connected with you and, sharing this journey and you allowing me to have this space. And we're actually going to talk about spiritual narcissism, but it's just...
We are, and you know what? We can talk about anything, but I wanted to, first of all, thank you for showing up, for being the leader. You've been so loud in everything that you've done over the past year, and you've made a big difference, Alpa. And, you've given me courage personally, because I'm still, I have Sexy Brilliant, that's loud enough, right? So I kind of shy away from everything else. But the way you take on human rights and the violations, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So you inspire me very much. And I want to say thank you to you for that. And I want to, for everybody who's here on the live show, has Alpa Soni Alpa Soni's work made a difference in your life? Please let us know in the comments, because here she is, she's literally like not feeling well, but she's here showing up for you guys, so that she's leading by example. And if Alpa can do it, I know you guys can do it as well. So please let us know how your journey has been and how much strength you've gotten from Alpa herself. And of course, from Sexy Brilliance too. We have to say that, right, Alpa?
Of course. It's all about Sexy Brilliant. I love the name. I have a question for you, Devina, because you're such a great host. We've been on so many shows together, and you have this ability to ask great questions. But where did you come up with the concept Sexy Brilliant? I think it's amazing. I was like, well, mine is spiritual badass, right?
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that in a bit. But I do love Sexy Brilliant. It's brilliant and sexy.
So, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Sexy Brilliant actually happened because of me overcoming an addiction. Once, and I'll just share it very briefly because it's a good moment to share it. When my arranged marriage ended, I kind of fell into this external validation and consequently addiction, looking for somebody outside of myself to save me. So I ended up on dating applications, Tinder, Craigslist, like looking for love. And it was the most, eye-opening experience, because I've always been, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't do gambling, because I'm afraid of becoming an addict. I know I have that in me. Yet here I was, becoming an addict for somebody. Through that journey, when somebody would tell me, how are you? My first response would be always sexy, always brilliant. It was always on text messages. It didn't matter how fat I was. It didn't matter that I had only $5 in my bank account. I just said, I am sexy, I'm brilliant.
You are.
And that actually became my mantra, Alpa. So, 5 years later, here I am, like in recovery and, shining my light, because our mission is to remove toxic shame. And it's my personal mission as well, to remove toxic shame, raise human consciousness. And part of raising human consciousness is also bringing back common sense nation, It's to bring back free thinking, is to bring back that fact that we need to be our own saviors.
Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
Alpa?
And we come from a culture that I like the fact that you talk about toxic shame, because inevitably we are in a culture that actually, what's the best way to say it without it sounding like I'm being prejudiced to my own people, but we grow up in a society and with the societal conditioning about what other people will think. And as they say in Hindi, log kya kahenge. And so there's that sort of toxic shame, this whole thing about what other people will think about us, family name and honor. So, having a voice in this movement, for example, was something that a lot of people who write into me from my own culture, from my own background, say, Alpa, you're very brave to say what you're doing, because there's not many people talking about this from the Indian communities. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the only one by no means, and I have no ego there. Like, look at me, this is me. I'm the only one saying this, but I get why, and I understand why, because of this societal conditioning and how we are raised, to honor our family name and to be careful about what we say publicly. And I get that. And this is, my mother's saying is like, always act with decorum and politeness, and with sanskar, sabhyata and satbuddhi. And I think the great teachings there as well. Sanskar meaning like good values, good family values. Yeah. Sabhyata, your decorum, your nature, how you're treating people. And then satbuddhi, your intellect, your mental intellect, and how you're thinking. Yeah. And what is your soch vichar? What are you thinking about a situation? Are we going into negativity, toxic shame? Or are we kind of transmuting that, staying recalibrated with our higher self into understanding our dark and light, and then recalibrating it and transmuting it all? So what you're saying is that in those 5 years that you've had, is that you went through the dark night of the soul that's prevalent in so many people that we speak to in this journey, and we're calibrating together all the time, and learning from each other's stories and helping ourselves, to realize, oh, actually, where am I playing a victim to my story? Where am I playing a victim to my story, my narrative? What is it doing to me? Like this is the thing with my health right now. I'm not going to let it happen to me. I'm not going to let that story play out. I speak to some amazing people every day who remind me that, I'm not owning my sort of difficulties with some of the conditions that I'm told that I have. I am doing what I can to stay well, to do the right things that are necessary. And I didn't have the tools or the guidance or the right information to be able to navigate myself properly, because the doctors never tell you what's going on. And now I've got some really amazing people that are working. So I have no shadow of doubt that in this interim period, while I'm trying to sort of recalibrate, I will be back at an even better version of where I am now. So it's not owning, not taking ownership of your story. It's learning from it as an observer, as a witness. Yeah, what's going on. And this has been a learning curve for all of us in this journey, Devina. We came out, we heard about the children, we realized that there's something nefarious going on behind the scenes worldwide, and we screamed loudly to surmise it. Yeah, to surmise it. And we started to scream out with no kind of like tools about this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We learn, we meet people along the way. Some are brilliant, some are sexy and brilliant.
Can we get a big yay for sexy brilliant, please? And sexy brilliant.
And you learn something from everybody. You learn something from everyone that you meet, and you have the choice then to see how you let that consume you, or how you let that elevate you, or how you let that lift you. Because ultimately we're just making choices every single day. I choose to be well, and I'm going to do everything in my power to stay well. When I find myself being slightly negative, because I can, and I do get negative. I have been in the last few weeks, and I've had to pull myself and rein myself out and surmount that strength to say, no, you've got this. It's okay. Because none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. None of us have all the answers. And in this so-called truth community, what is truth? What is spirituality? Let's start asking the correct questions. Spirituality, there's this sense of spiritual narcissism and ego that you and I have many conversations about, is the pursuit of knowledge. Spirituality is the pursuit of knowledge that there's something greater that exists over and above ourselves. Right? And then everything else that we know or we think we know, we question, is that true? How does that resonate with me and my higher self? And the vibrations will be telling you something, and when you go into places of judgment, that's when you know that you're out of sync, right? with everything, and anger being one. Like, I'll give you an example. With me feeling so like, having these little miniature pity parties that I have on a daily basis. And I was like, why deserted me? I can't take the pain anymore.
Yeah, and you know what, Alpa, I want to just come back to something you mentioned. You mentioned about spirituality, and what I find is there are many, many preachers out there, spiritual teachers telling us what to do, how to behave, what to think about, what to look like, what to feel. But the thing is, many of these people haven't done their own work, but they're preaching us, right? So we have to be very careful of who we are listening to, especially if we are not listening to our inner voice, the inner, our spiritual voice. Our confidence comes from inside. Outside is just a show. So we have to start working on the inside and connecting back to our spiritual wisdom that we all have. And that's our true power. It's not about, we have to learn from others. Everybody's our teacher, but you are your own teacher as well. Be your own guru, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the savior complex, which I think we all are coming to realize, that no one is going to save us but ourselves. So who we align with, how we align with these gurus or so-called preachers or teachers or spiritual narcissists, as I call them, is we have the choice to act, because they all have something. Everyone has something to teach you, everybody, be it for your higher good, be it for something where you can actually say, well, that's not actually my vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we come into that place of, real true inner wisdom, where we are standing as the observer and witnessing what everyone is saying, and then what we take on board is our choice. What is right or wrong, our higher self will always be telling us. In this truth community, I've observed, and I say this with no judgment, my truth is the only truth, is something that will literally repel me, because you see, there needs to be compassion in everything that we're doing. Even though we can be a little bit like, abrupt about it, or grunt and say, oh God, what the hell is this all about? But you know in your heart, you're coming from a place of love, because intention and perception are very important. What is your intention? And as I was saying earlier on, like, I had to really witness and observe myself getting angry with my mother, for example, and she's just like, Alpa, I'm just trying to help you. And I'm like, go away, you don't understand me, you don't know me. And this, miniature pity parties that I have every now and again is like, wounds that sort of I get triggered by, further points out to myself that I have some healing to do in those areas. Yeah. So then you just sort of like, transmute it, neutralize the charge that it has on you. And that's the same to everybody that we meet. Where are we, where are we being triggered by people? Even the so-called truthers, even the people that attract the truthers, or this label that everybody's giving myself, because I don't give myself any label. I'm just a spiritual being or a conscious being that's trying to spread her light in her haphazard way. I don't see myself as any kind of big authority or anything, but it's these labels that people are giving us. So, okay, let's just work with that. My truth is the only truth. And, using religious teachings and intellectual spiritualism. So I've read the book, I've read the Bible, I've read the Gita. So I was met with something that really astounded me in one of my chats many months ago. And we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita and Shiva. And the person that I was speaking to was actually kind of like quite a character assassinating lovely Shiva. He's vile. He's this. Oh, one second. Oh, there you go. This is me and my techno wars. I don't want to get. Sorry, guys.
We're here.
Battery low. And I didn't.
And you know what? There's so many beautiful comments coming in. Robin, and I know Leah's writing on behalf of Robin. She says, we are all on a unique, beautiful journey of self. One truth is the divider, the deceiver. Wow. And then Galactic Greg says, triggers are teachers. And someone
here.
So on point. And Alpa, there's a lot of comments coming in saying that please speak in
My Hindi? Garbal. Multi Hindi. पंजाबी, you speak Punjabi, my Punjabi, I can understand, सब कुछ समझ सकती हूँ, लेकिन बोलने में तकलीफ हो जाती है.
Can you at least do your mom's impersonation once again? How does your mom say
Oh.
in Hindi?
Oh, that has to be spontaneous. That has to be spontaneous.
Alpa,
But
you
it's
just
that look, you know. No,
What's
no, but
that?
it's just that look, though. I can do that look. You know, she just went just now, and I just such a meanie that I can be. I just snapped at her, and she goes, "Alpa, I'm just trying to help you." Looks at me like Kenzo looks at me every day, you know.
Yeah, and you know what? This also brings me back to another point, right? That our parents
thing in my hair. Sorry, it's like, just get off.
We can't hear it. Don't worry, Alpa. But coming back to our parents, you know, our parents are part of have their own conditioning, right? So, like my parents are, you know, they are from Pakistan. They became refugees into India, and they have that scarcity mentality. So they're always trying to tell me, go get a job, go back to the bank. You know, you did so well. So we kind of have to listen to everything, but understand that everything is a programming, and we always have to listen to our inner voice, which gives us, you know, the more we listen to our inner voice, guess what happens? Our spiritual confidence goes up.
Well, I have a question for you,
Yes.
Devina. In this observation journey and over the last 1 year, I'm just noticing where people from my own community are and how they are receiving the information from mainstream media, and then how they're sort of interpreting it, deciphering it, and then acting upon it. So we have groups of people that is just, well, there's this big pandemic out there and it's killing people and we've got to do what we're told. And the doctors know best. And then there's just people who've gone into complete silence and just observing as well and not saying anything. That doesn't mean that they don't understand or understand what's going on. People are afraid then there's people that are afraid to speak up. There is so much that we've spoken over the few months about spirituality and, you know, what's going on, that this is a spiritual war. So the Eastern wisdom that we should have, right? That yoga is home to Eastern wisdom. And what is yoga essentially, right? Is it fancy yoga poses that we put on Instagram? Of course not. Right? What is yoga? There's spiritual narcissism in the yoga community as well. I've done a show about that too. But yoga essentially means union with oneself. That is yoga. And then you have the practical practices where you try and get, you know, yourself elevated higher. And also, I don't practice yoga every single day. I was doing Kundalini yoga, but essentially, the whole meaning for myself personally is yoga is union with oneself. And sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, nothing new there. But what I was getting to is that, you know, we are home to spiritual practices here and in India. And I find that the cognitive dissonance within our own communities is huge. And it's this lack of willingness to even open their eyes to what is actually going on. And it's almost more of a ritualistic process for them that, you know, we have to do things that we're told rather than actually thinking from that sort of esoteric plane that something bigger and above ourselves is going on here. So, for example, how many Asian people or Indian people are doctors and accountants? Yeah, they've moved so much to the Western allopathic medicine that they've completely removed themselves from the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, where we have people from the West that are completely learning about our teachings. And I don't say this in any egotistic way, but I'm just saying that it comes there. And I find that our own people are kind of rejecting that and relying heavily on Western medicine. Yeah. And we now know in this awakening journey that actually we can heal ourselves. Yeah, we can. We have the natural way, natural medicine to be able to heal ourselves. So my question to you, in a very long-winded way, is why do you think this is the case, Devina? And I think I've answered some of that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just going to say, you've answered most of that. The thing is, like, what I say is that we are all part of this programming, right? Where we have all been indoctrinated to think in such a way. And the mission has been, and I'm going to say the evil mission, the satanic mission has been to keep us so busy in the loop, right? That our focus is looking for food, looking for money, looking for the next holiday, looking for the Netflix relief, looking for porn, looking for food, looking for, like it goes on and on in this vicious cycle, which means we are so busy on the outside that we have no more connection with our inside, right? And when we have no more connection with inside, we have no more connection with nature. Now we're in quarantine and self-isolation. We have no more connection with others. So guess what's going to happen, Alpa? We're going to give our power away. And when we give our power away, we have, we're busy just fixing things, buying new things, commodity, commercialization of our emotions. And when that happens,
I like that commercialization of our emotions. That's brilliant. It is. It just gets brilliant on the Sexy Brilliant show. That is brilliant.
Our emotions have been commercialized. Our body's been commercialized. Our sexuality has been commercialized. Everything has become a business. So what do we have to do? We have to kind of start saying, and I can say this for myself because I did this. My banking job was not working. I made a lot of money, but my personal satisfaction was zero. So I quit my banking job and I became a full-time dog walker, right? So and we worry so much about money, and we worry so much about, like, I want that big house, I want that nice car, I want that perfect relationship. Well, you know what? All of that is possible, but when we are strong from the inside. So instead of choosing to work for the man, I became a dog walker, and in retrospect, and in retrospect, I didn't know what I was doing. It was just by saying no to that was causing me a lot of stress, anxiety, and that's how I changed it. And the thing is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And the thing is, my parents were so pissed when I refused to go back to the banking job. They were like, we're never gonna speak to you. You're divorced. You're a single mother. Now you have no job. Nobody will want to marry you. You're an embarrassment. But you know what? I was suicidal, right? So I was like, I'm not gonna live somebody else's life. And this is what it is. We need to start thinking for ourselves. We need to start knowing who we are. It comes from self-knowledge, Alpa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many comments coming in, and I'm going to read some of them. But Alpa, I know there's so much more to share, but I don't want to overtax your time because I know you're not feeling well. But please give us some.
No, I'm good. I'll let everybody know when I'm like,
Okay.
It's a bit too much for me. I'm actually really enjoying this. It's very great energy. Oh, I like this, Greg.
Yeah. Alpa, I have a question for you. What do you think we can do to change this pressure, this family pressure, this society pressure, this the fear of uncertainty? Now, of course, like we're in Canada, we've got like a mandatory stay at home. Our essential services are only open. Grocery stores have like lines that, certain sections are closed that are considered non-essential. How do we deal with all of this? And what do we do to stay centered and grounded?
Gosh, you're asking someone who feels a little bit off center over the last few days, but I'll try and answer it. This is the unknown. No matter how much we do our research right now and we've deciphered information, thinking something and expecting something to happen, we've been let down quite a few times within this plan. Something's going to happen by this date. So it should have taught us a lot by now. And there's nothing wrong with having aligned with wanting something good. Just remember that. That's the first thing. Because right now, people who are awake, that are watching, because that's what I assume people coming to your channel want to explore something that's outside the mainstream narrative. So it's okay to have felt disappointed with things not having happened by a certain time, a certain date, and that's fine, because you must embrace the fact that your intentions are only wanting the good. Then there comes this part where you're stepping into you're in the unknown. We really don't know what the outcome of anything is. And when do we really? We're embracing the serendipity of life, right? Like I said at the start, we don't have a manual for this. None of us had the manual for this. And, we've learned a lot of things that have happened that have been nefarious, that have taken their emotional toll on people's health mentally and emotionally, and then subsequently with their families. It's a day-to-day thing for me. Yeah. It's this like embracing the uncertainty with strength. And of course, with me, with my health challenges on a day-to-day basis of aligning with the right people. Yeah. So when someone depletes your energy and that like now you're kind of higher self is telling you this person is actually like depleting my sense of self or my energy, and I'm feeling uncomfortable around them. You just distance yourselves emotionally from it. Do not engage in conversations that are going to actually take away your high vibes, right? And only if you allow that person or external forces to do that to you. And I appreciate it's not easy, because I go through this as well, like I just said about with my mum, it's this kind of constant every single day of she's not really understanding what's going on. She's a bit more like a lot of our parents are in the fear narrative. And I say this with no judgment. Try and look at everything with compassion, even though you're gritting your teeth and saying, really, really, seriously. But that's what gets you through, because you have to employ that understanding of looking at the other person's shoes, right? So I have a lot of friends who are not awake, who have taken I don't want to say it. Yeah. And before I was getting really upset and like, oh my God, look at how much information there's out there about that. Why have they? And then I've come to a point of neutrality where we're all here on our own script. When we understand that, we are all here on our own script, our own journey, and it's what we do for ourselves and how we are helping our brothers and sisters every day. Yeah. Are we actually who's withdrawing your energy and who's elevating your energy? And that's what I think we need to realize. And ultimately, we're responsible for everything that goes on, as we keep saying throughout, that what goes on. So we make decisions, small decisions every single day about who's going to deposit or withdraw into our lives. So right now we're in uncertainty, lockdown after lockdown, a year in, we're still saying this. Yeah, it's got to me, Devina. It really has. UK has been horrendous with, with the lockdowns.
And Alpa, I want to say this. There's a collective hopelessness, right? There's collective despair. There's collective darkness. And I mean, we are the light. We're doing this show. We are here because we are not going to get into the system that wants us weak, and it wants us to feel sad and depressed. It wants us to be dependent on those pharmaceutical industry for our medication and our treatment. But we got to stay true to ourselves and always find our inner connection, right, Alpa? And that comes from silence and stillness, prayer and meditation. Just before we started the show, Alpa did this what did you do, Alpa?
It's the Mahamitra mantra. Mahamitra mantra.
Yeah, Mahamitra mantra. And I want you to do that again before we end the show, actually, because it was so powerful, right? So
it's the most powerful mantra. It's associated with Lord Shiva, the destroyer of evil.
Yeah, and this is what it is. Like, we all have to do our part to make the world a better place. And guess what we have to do? We have to work on ourselves, right? And it's true, Alpa. Like, we have to know who we are. We have to know what you mentioned this earlier. We have to know our darkness. We have to know our brilliance, and then we have to practice radical self-acceptance, and become our best friend. Start having a relationship with our ego. Sorry, go ahead, Alpa.
No, that is exactly it. We are here on our own. Khali haath se aayenge or khali haath jayenge. Yeah, we come we come on our own and we die on our own. We go and we don't take anybody with us. Our soul is what's eternal, and that lives on and continues. Once we leave this meat suit, we don't know what our next journey is. No one comes. Only when we're in it, we'll realize. And do we remember what our previous soul journey was? We do not know right now. Yeah, as we deepen our spirituality and understanding of that level of complete gyan knowledge, yeah, that complete knowledge of what is the truth. Because right now we keep spewing out that word, saying truth, truth, truth. This is the truth, that's the truth. What I've actually learned so far is we don't actually know. We don't. Yeah,
Mhm.
we
I'm
don't
so glad you
know.
said that. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. We are trying to explore another narrative in this movement, saying, hey, hang on a minute, the government's been lying to us. There's corruption within every institution, every fraternity, and we kind of connect and piece together all the pieces of the puzzle. However, have we seen it with our own eyes? We're seeing videos, we're seeing people share information, and this is essentially what it is. History is people's information shared. Yeah, it's like Chinese whispers, and then does it get diluted? Does it get distorted along the way? Right. So we have to then form our own intellect internally to be able to piece that succinctly and say that actually, does this ring true or not? And when we are deciphering information in the mainstream media or in the alternative media, and we're saying, right, well, what does this mean? Has this happened? Tell me, Devina, who truly knows on Mother Earth right now, exactly from a geopolitical level of what's truly going on? There's
None
so
of
many
us
things.
know.
None of us do. I certainly make no claims. However, I get completely thrown under the bus very recently by association with some other truthers, because they're claiming that somehow we are fraudulent. Listen, what we're all doing is we're trying to come out and find out what the truth is, and we're collectively coming together in that unity consciousness of what we should be doing, learning from our brothers and sisters. Some will align with, some will move away, some will distance, some will just gravitate away from, like, if that makes sense. And we will decide for ourselves that, okay, that frequency no longer resonates with me, or, oh my God, this is really elevating me in my own journey. But who knows exactly what is going to happen? We are trying to decipher the comms. We're trying to analyze and then conclude that this could be a possibility of what's happening. We've all been guilty of getting overexcited by an outcome, but this is it. And this is what the Gita is about. Right? The Bhagavad Gita essentially is about the ego and losing the ego and non-detachment, which is Maya, right? Losing the attachment to everything and the illusion of attachment, and having this attachment to things, outcomes, people, places, because essentially it all boils down to the simple fact that we go alone and we come alone and we die alone. Right? And we're taking experiences from this life. And it's what we do. It's how people will remember how you made them feel. Right? When I saw Devina, how was it she made me feel? Oh my God, she's always full of energy and a burst of, beautiful, exuberant spirit. Oh no, I'm always around Devina and she's always not like that. These are the two things people will perceive this. It's the energy. We get so obsessed with the intricate detail of things that we become then attached. You said this, and you said it was going to happen like this, but you said this, and you're only doing this because of money and all of this. Are bakwas choro, ye kya hai? What the hell is this? This nonsense, this bakwas, this we're doing this within this community. And I found it very childish and very silly. Yeah. And, we're speaking raw truths here. And I think that we essentially, it just boils down to that simple fact of outcomes, attachment to outcomes. So going back to just a point that you said earlier on, is that we are navigating our way through this to the best of our ability. Yeah. We're doing it day to day. We're learning. We're working with the five senses. We're working with the esoterics. Yeah, we're trying to work and navigate and trying to understand the impact that it's having on us, the phases of the moon. I love listening to Sadhguru, for example. Yeah. And he is not a guru that actually convinces you to say, listen, my truth is the only truth. I love him, right? Because he actually makes sense to me. And I can relate to him. Does that mean I consume myself and think, right, he's my savior? Absolutely not. No, he gives me nuggets of wisdom, which actually can open up a web of other information or gnosis that I have already inside. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but we may not be able to articulate it, as well. So because we're inhibited by our own limitations, yeah. But you think, yeah, I get that, and then suddenly we expect everybody to get that, but they won't, because everybody is on their own journey, and they're going to see things through their own experiences, of life, and through the conditioning that they've been put through. And in this great awakening movement is that we're actually come out of the system. So we're seeing things through such a different lens, but we're looking at people that are just what we say, not awake. It took me a while to kind of really home into how do I cope with this?
Yeah.
How do I cope with this? Because surely you can see the injustices that are that are happening in our world, and people are being like abused and tortured, and there's so much corruption, and there's just so much deception that's going on. This is the shaitan that's playing, the devil that's just playing, that has been playing his course for so many years.
And it's not, it's only going to stop when we all stand up and say enough is enough, when we all look at everybody around us as our brothers and sisters and part of our extended family, right, Alpa? Because that's what it's all about. It's about knowing that, Alpa, you said it very well, that we are all, when we die, we're going to leave everything behind, and we're just going to go back in our soul space and be free. And that's what this journey is all about, like finding yourself so you can then teach your creator something about themselves. And you know what, Alpa, I'm just so grateful that we're sharing space together, and there's so many comments coming in. Greg says, we are the ones we're waiting for. And Christine says, absolutely, detach and love, have no expectations. So this is what it's all about. It's about focusing on yourself so that your emotions don't get commercialized, whether that is as the truther community, as a shopaholic, as and somebody who's an addict. And we've all been there. We've all got our own struggles. And when we start focusing on ourselves, we have no time to focus on others. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, 100%. I just wanted to touch on, actually, with the conversation that we had earlier about the spiritual narcissism. Yeah. We've been the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati. Sorry, I keep doing this. You get those silly baby hairs that keep coming on your forehead and go away from me. The cabal, the deep state. We have been living this illusion and governed by mass deception. Yeah. So narcissism has been taking place at the real top levels, right? And we have been completely deceived in so many areas that we probably ourselves, even though we think we're awake, don't even realize just how much we've been duped into so many lies. And then you have the so-called spiritual awakened truther community, where allegedly we're supposed to have it right, and that their way is the only way, or this whole notion that this is the truth, by using religious texts and books as a manipulation tool to actually get people on side, right? What we need to understand here very well, that I think I have in my space, in my time, and when you ask me to introduce myself, it's like Alpa Soni, average girl that just wants to seek the truth. Seek the truth. And I'm finding my own way. You've got to know your own light, find your own truth, and find your own way. Do not get so heavily aligned to anybody where you are actually removing self from self, and you're thinking, right, this person has got the truth, and they will elevate you for a bit, but they'll drop you just as quick, right? Because it's they'll start. You may align with a particular guru or a spiritual teacher, and then suddenly something may not resonate with you. What happens then? Where do you do? Because you've just completely put all the impetus and all your kind of
heart and soul.
Yeah, thank you. This is what happens. Heart and soul into that person, believing that is the only way. That's not the truth. I don't believe that. You're going to find your own voice. You're going to find who you are. We can't all be the same. We can't all be the same. But yes, there is a narrative that's at play globally, and that we're seeking truth and trying to figure out what's going on. We get what's going on. We get that. And this is the war that we're fighting every single day. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm so proud of my brothers and sisters that continue to do that every single day. I'm off Facebook, and I'm on spiritual.badass on Instagram. I've just started building that up because I got wiped out from there as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I got wiped out. This was months ago, and then I just only started like rebuilding a new Instagram channel. And I actually always preferred Instagram, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so great to see so many people that are holding hands, holding space for what's going on here in the UK right now, right? It's getting to a place where we're all like, wow, I can't wait to get out of this lockdown. But we're still fighting every single day in whatever way it is, we're fighting, you know?
Yeah. And you know what, Alpa? It's a journey that is not going to stop when X changes or Y changes or A happens, you know? It's going to stop. It's going to change when we all become responsible for our own thinking, our own being, you know, our own food, our own water, our own air. And I just want to end the show with something that we all need to have.
Oh my God, we've been on for an hour. I thought I'd only last 20 minutes, and it's been an hour.
Yeah, we've been at this, and you know, we got to start taking responsibility for our own clean air, our own air filters.
Yeah.
The chemtrails are still there, so we got to, you know, go back inside and find ways of purifying our own air, drinking good water. And I know you talk about that, Alpa, and we'll talk about this at the next show that we do together. But because we're coming to the end of the show, I just want to say thank you to our audience. Before we all let you go, we're going to pull some sexy, brilliant cards. Alpa, are you ready for them? Look, they all want to come up. They're all talking, eh?
Okay.
So these are what the cards look like.
Okay. Right.
So let's see what the message is. It's been a beautiful show, beautiful time together. They're just like jumping at me. They're like, pick me, pick me, pick me.
These are tarot cards?
These are cards that I wrote. They're sexy, brilliant empowerment cards.
Oh, amazing. What a great idea.
Yeah. So it says, practice sexy fearlessness. Can you see it?
Well, I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah. So it says, it's okay to be scared. Fight fear with love. We are all afraid to say the most important things. Say, I love you more. Say, thank you more. Say it to others. Say it to yourself. Look in the mirror and say it until you believe it. And do one thing that feels scary every day.
Amazing. And I'll add to that. Say, I'm enough.
You are enough. And Alpa, this is card especially for you and for people who are tuning in. Be fearless, you know, live in fearlessness, because that's what it's all about. Starting to stand up for your own rights and your own freedoms, and saying no to tyranny and saying yes to personal sovereignty and personal growth and development, right, Alpa?
100%. Reclaim your own sovereignty and simply be you.
Yeah, simply be you. And it all starts from self-knowledge, knowing who you are, your authentic self, knowing your good side, knowing your lightness, knowing your weakness, and then practicing radical self-acceptance. And Alpa, before we go, any last comments or thoughts, and where can people find you?
So you can find me on my YouTube channel, where I should be out of jail. That's Alpa Soni. And I've also got a backup channel that I've just put up, which is spiritual.badass on YouTube. That's spiritual badass, not .badass, but on Instagram, it's spiritual.badass. And then there's my Telegram, Alpa Soni, and then Facebook. I'm going to come back on Facebook and when the ban's lifted. But right now I decided to deactivate my account just to stop the noise, you know. I am constantly banning everybody, you know. What nonsense is this? But it's sometimes good to just, you know, disconnect.
Go within and go connect to yourself. Yeah.
And my website will be done as well very soon as well.
Yay. And to those of you who may not know this, I'm also the author of a book called Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. Yeah,
Love it.
and it's a spiritual self-help workbook. So please check that out if you are so inclined to. And once again, thank you for joining us on the Brilliantly Sexy show
Thank
with
you,
Devina
everybody.
Kaur. And Alpa, everything is there in the show notes. So to connect to Alpa on Instagram, on Facebook, on Telegram, I have everything on details on there. And then let us know how you like the show, and let us know if you want Alpa to come back on our show. Yay! Thank you,
Yay.
everybody.
Thank
Love
you.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Brilliantly Sexy with Devina Kaur. We value your time immensely and appreciate your shares, comments, and feedback. Devina Kaur is the best-selling author of Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious, a spiritual self-help workbook. Your purchases and donations support the Sexy Brilliant Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to removing toxic shame. Please discover our fantastic behind-the-scenes content on sexybrilliant.org.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing this video and for connecting with both myself and Alpa. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.